Good evening, everybody. We'll call to order our November 28th, 2017 regular meeting of the Mason County Board of Commissioners. We go with our Pledge of Allegiance, and if Senator Sheldon would please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if the clerk would please take roll.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Schutte.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Drexler.
Here.
Very good. Item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. If the clerk would please report the correspondence.
Fire Districts 1, 3, and 5 sent in their final 2018 budgets. And the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board sent an application for Alderbrook Golf and Yacht Club for an added privilege liquor license.
Okay, thank you. We have one addition. We have an item 4.2. We have a news release. If Loretta would please come forward.
Evening, Commissioners. This is a advisory for the Skokomish River, and it's regarding levees on the Skokomish. Mason County is alerting Skokomish Valley residents to damage sustained to a private levee on the Skokomish River in Mason County by the recent storms during the week of November 20th, 2017. The damaged levee is located on the south side of the North Fork and the South Fork Skokomish River confluence. The levee failure or potential river avulsion could create a hazard near the 3500 block of the Skokomish Valley Road. A preliminary evaluation of the levee has been completed, and further inspection will occur this week to determine what emergency repairs may be necessary to safeguard lives and property. Valley residents are asked to monitor water over the Skokomish Valley Road near the 3000 to 3500 block and to alert MACECOM or Mason County Emergency Management if the flow becomes deeper than 1 foot in this location. Residents should be prepared to shelter in place or evacuate as a safety measure should this occur. Residents are reminded to visit the county webpage and sign up for emergency alerts. River gauge information for the Skokomish River and the North Fork Skokomish River near Potlatch can be found at links that are provided below in the news release. And we'll also post this on the county website so residents can access those links as well. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5. This is our open forum for citizen input. It's an opportunity for members of the public to come forward and address the commission on items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you'd like to do that, please come forward to the podium and the chair will recognize you.
Good evening. My name is Marley Young. Somewhere in your past, I was your county engineer and director of public works from about 78 to 93. During that time, being your county engineer, I was also the Flood Zone Control Advisory Committee's engineer. And I have, by one way or another, been involved in your Skoke Valley, your Skoke River, since 78. Yesterday, Sean Johnson and I walked from the church upstream on the levee that is on the south side of the Skoke River, and we stopped at a breach in that levee. We think the levee is on county property. We think that the breach is on county property. My conversation with Loretta leads me to believe that we have 2 breaches on that levee. We found one this way, she locates one this way. We've prepared a little map. Also attached is a publication, which I'm sure that you have a copy of. The publication was January 15th, 2016, and our good friend, who's now passed, Geiger, had a lot to say about the valley and the dike, and I think it's good reading for refreshment. I'd like to pass these out to the commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Those people, those valley people that I have been talking with are very interested in, if nothing else, temporarily closing the breach in the dike so that the roads get back to normal, the culverts get back to normal, and their farms get back to normal as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Tim, did you want
Well, thank you, Commissioners. I'm Tim Sheldon from Potlatch. It's a little different to be on this side of the dais, but I wanted to come down today and support my friends and neighbors and constituents that are in the Skokomish Valley. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, it was really bad. Some residents couldn't get out for 3 or 4 days, and really it is a health and safety issue. I remember when I was a commissioner, we've had dike breaks right at the church, but this is just a little upriver from there. Of course, it's washed all the gravel across the parking lot of the church. That's gone. It's over into Sean Johnson's farm, and you know, there's a lot of damage being done. So I appreciate Marley's professional presentation about the issue, and I hope that the county can take some measures that will help with the safety concerns. I know Commissioner Schutte is going to go out there tomorrow with Public Works and take a look. I really appreciate that. That's your district, obviously. You know, another item here is the ice cream plant. Nobody wants to be without Olympic Mountain ice cream, and it does affect their deliveries. They have big deliveries. They do an enormous volume, and I think Mason County is known for its ice cream, and we've got to protect them. So it's difficult for the Blacks to maintain that business with the uncertainty of the river. But as you go farther up the Skokomish Valley Road, of course, you get to the dips and just past Swift Creek and Vance Creek. It is very scary to see the water so close to the road. I know there's been a proposal for a road up the top of the hill there. I don't think that's feasible. I don't know any of the valley residents that would be in favor of that. If you drive over Highway 12, for example, and you're next to the Cowlitz River going through Packwood, before you get to Packwood and just past Morton, you see the river there just raging along the side of the highway. Department of Transportation brought in some heavy riprap and has really hopefully solved that for a while, but it's going to take a big rock, and that can be done with habitat logs and other things to help, but if that road goes out, it would be disastrous for the families. And lastly, I'll just add, in 2008, I found money in the transportation budget, state transportation budget, to replace the Purdy Creek Bridge on Highway 101. That was a very short bridge, 60, 70 feet long. Now when you drive over there, it's a large bridge. $8 million was spent. And DOT had to design that bridge to take the entire river if it ever moves. So they didn't spend that extra money just, well, maybe. You know, they spent it because they had to be sure that if that river moved, that it could continue, you know, it will continue along the south bank. And it'll take fish hatcheries, it'll take houses, it could take lives. So it's a very important issue, and I appreciate you listening, and I know you'll work on it and do the best you can to help the residents.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, tomorrow morning, we have a budget workshop. It sounds like we have an emergency situation here. Can we schedule a briefing for afterwards to give an update on and perhaps some options on what to do about it? Have somebody come and let us know more than just our citizen?
Commissioners, we've got folks from the emergency management side of the Army Corps coming down tomorrow morning, and also our on-call geotechnical engineer. And so we'll be in the field first thing in the morning, making inspections with those experts, and we'll get some information from that back and would be happy to brief the commissioners afterwards.
Thank you. Great.
Anyone else for comment, please?
Thank you. My name's Sean Johnson. I'm not a very good public speaker, so bear with me. My family's lived in the Skokomish Valley since 1901. We've been on the same bit of dirt for over 100 years, and I just wanted to express my concern about the recent dike failure. The river, it's no big secret, the south side of the valley is lower than the north side of the valley. The county road upstream that Tim Sheldon had talked about that they're thinking about moving is basically keeping the river from jumping to the south side. If that road was removed and the riprap was taken out, the river would come across. Well, basically downstream of that where the dike is broke, there's an old river channel that the river's running through now that comes out into the church parking lot when it's high. And I have concerns for my family, my elderly parents, and recently my son, just bought my grandparents' place in November, and when that blew, it took the back porch right off the house. The house has been there 100 years, never had water in it. So it's real important that that hole in the dike gets fixed for our safety and for hopefully the future generations that plan to live there on that land. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Anyone else, please?
Good evening. I'm Shaloy Johnson. I'm Sean's wife. And 2 points, and Tim brought them both up, but I just want to reiterate that the river, of course, the dike is breached, and we need that fixed as quickly as possible because I'm assuming that we're going to get more rain, and it's going to get really bad. The church has never had water sitting in the parking lot. We've never closed church just because the parking lot was full of water, which we had to do last Sunday. So that was interesting. The other point is about the county road being moved. My concern is if they do move that county road and there's no protection where the county doesn't have to maintain that county road, the river will come right through my house. I was told many, many years ago when we had that very horrible flood, I can't remember what year it was, 96 or something, that the river was going to avulse. And I said at that time, well, I can see that it's trying to, but and we had to hire an attorney to protect our property with a rock wall at that time. Well, that rock wall will not hold back the entire river. And this year I've experienced that river is more of a raging river coming directly at my dining room than it ever has been before. The water seems to come sooner and faster, and we were marooned at home for 2 days. We have a Christmas tree farm up on the hill, which I could not get out to operate. So I had to hike up the hill to get to Thanksgiving dinner. It took me 40 minutes. It was a hard hike. So I would appreciate that the river be put back in the river and not through my house. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others for comment?
Is it appropriate to comment on one of the action items at this point?
Any others for comment on items not on tonight's agenda? Okay. So I appreciate everybody coming down tonight, I really do, and I look forward to getting out tomorrow morning with our public works staff and getting the Corps down here and seeing just what we can do and how quickly we can do it. I know what you're up against, and so I do appreciate you coming down tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, item number 6 is the adoption of tonight's agenda. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve tonight's agenda as presented. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Item number 7, approval of minutes. We have minutes from October 30th, November 6th, and November 13th briefings, and November 7th and November 21st regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of the minutes, October 30th, November 6th, November 13th briefing minutes, November 7th, and November 21st regular meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from October 30th, November 6th, and November 13th briefings, and November 7th and 21st regular meeting. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. And moves us to our action agenda tonight. Commissioners will read through the items on tonight's action agenda, at which point a commissioner or member of the public can remove an item for a separate discussion and vote. Commissioner Netherland, if you'd please take item 8.1, Commissioner Drexler 8.2, and I will take item 8.3.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, item 8.1 reads, approval to hold a budget hearing on December 19, 2017 at 9:30 a.m. to consider the following requests for supplemental appropriations and budget transfers. $10,000 from additional revenues received from the state AOC for the Odyssey conversion used to reimburse clerk's office 001-070 overtime costs. $1,600 from general fund, ending fund balance 001-300 to the Office of Public Defense 001-240 to fund contract retro for clothing allowance. $20,000 from the REAP 2, number 351 to Belfair Wastewater Sewer Utility number 413. $20,000 from Veterans Assistance Fund beginning fund balance to Veterans Assistance expenditures line number 190. $4,500,000 refinancing of the LTGO bonds number 403. $2,750,000 refinancing of the LTGO bonds number 350. $55,142 budget transfer for expenditures. $17,186 for revenue in the sheriff's office.
Item 8.2, approval of the interlocal agreement with the City of Bremerton authorizing the development of new sanitary sewer transmission facilities to the Puget Sound Industrial Center from the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility.
And item 8.3, approval of warrants. Claims Clearing Fund warrant numbers 805-2239-805-2553 in the amount of $775,112.98. Direct Deposit Fund warrant numbers 45690-46061 in the amount of $644,790.74. And Salary Clearing Fund warrant numbers 7003228 through 7003256 in the amount of $483,658.69 for a total of $1,903,562.41. Okay, is there an item that a commissioner or member of the public would like to have removed for a separate vote or discussion? Ken?
Item 8.2.
Item 8.2 will be removed for a separate discussion and vote. I would entertain a motion on the other items.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the approval of action agenda items 8.1 and 8.3, removing 8.2 for further discussion.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve items 8.1 and 8.3, with 8.2 being removed for a separate discussion and vote. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Brings us to item 8.2, approval of the interlocal agreement with the City of Bremerton authorizing the development of new sanitary sewer transmission facilities to the Puget Sound Industrial Center from the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility. Is there any discussion?
I have a brief on it.
Do you want a brief?
I can.
Briefly?
Briefly?
Good evening, Board. Jerry Howe, Public Works Department. As you're aware, the Belfair sewer situation, as of 2016, we had another audit finding, and it's basically the lack of adequate funds, resources to maintain the cash that it should have going through there. It's required REAP 2 funding to bail it out a couple of years running now. And in the process of trying to expand the system so that it is self-sustaining. We had been contacted by the city of Bremerton about providing sewer service up to the Puget Sound Industrial Center area, PSIC, Puget Sound, yes. And with that, we've entered into an interlocal agreement. That's what's in front of you tonight. The City of Bremerton City Council approved this last week, I believe, or the week before. And this is basically an acknowledgement that we're going to work together towards funding to provide sewer service that would result in a flow to the Belfair wastewater plant and more revenue to offset some of the hemorrhaging of cash out of the plant. In a nutshell, this is an agreement to agree to work together and would be followed by subsequent either amendments to this, supplements to this, or subsequent interlocal agreements that reflect the activities at the time. We would need to go through a design process, environmental process. We had applied for capital fundings from the state and understood that some was earmarked for us. It just hasn't come to fruition yet. Bremerton's identified funding that they would make available as their share of this within this agreement. With that, I'll try to be brief and get out of here.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Any questions for staff? Ken, did you have any?
I don't have any questions, I just wanted to make a comment if I could.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioners. Ken Van Buskirk from Belfair. I saw this on the consent agenda when I walked in and wanted to offer the following comment. This was actually an alternative in the 2007 environmental impact statement, and it was one that I commented on but was unsuccessful. And when you folks came up to Belfair last December, I had a discussion with Mr. Houth, and I really appreciate the work he did to put this together. I think this is a win-win for everyone, and I think it has the potential to focus the development up on the plateau where it needs to be. So I would, think that it's really a good thing, and I appreciate all the effort he put into it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, any other discussion items on that before we entertain a motion?
When we briefed this with our Public Works staff, it was stated in that meeting that this is one of what will be many, many agreements with the City of Bremerton. It's a great start. I appreciate the commitment for funding from the city, and we do look forward to a capital budget being passed soon with the additional monies we'll need for the design work. So I am very appreciative of both staffs of the City of Bremerton and our here in Mason County of working together on this. This will be a tremendous help for the Belfair urban growth area and its future development. And I just trust that this will all go forward with hopefully the vision in mind that we all have of what it could be and should be.
Thank you.
I also want to make comment that this is a wonderful thing. First of all, Bremerton is putting their money where their mouth is. It's not just words, as we're looking to perhaps do something that will benefit both of us. But I also want to give a special shout out to our director, because that relationship has helped move this along. And their specific relationship and working relationship they have has helped us in our sewer and some of our issues that we've had, as we've also helped them with some of their road. And I think having the two of them having such a great working relationship, we have a very good opportunity to pull all this off in a way that beneficial to both of us, and neither one of us taking advantage of the other, which is a good place to be. So I want to give thanks to our staff on that.
Good. Yeah, and I would echo that. This is the first, and as we've said, first of many steps yet to come. And I think it's a great tip of the hat to our staff and the staff and elected leadership in Bremerton for working to keep this project moving forward. It was last January when we voted on having the request made to the state capital budget. That money is approved in that budget. Once it gets passed by both chambers and the legislature. And so we're happy to see, though, that as Commissioner Netherland and Drexler said, that Bremerton is bringing some funding to the table to help keep this project moving forward. And it really shows what we can do when we work in partnership with our neighbors in the region, and we know what's going to be good for us in this case, but also beneficial for Bremerton and Kitsap County as well. So look forward to continuing going through the process and working collaboratively with Kitsap County, the Port of Bremerton, and the City of Bremerton as well. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of County Commissioners approve the interlocal agreement with the City of Bremerton authorizing the development of new sanitary sewer transmission facilities to the Puget Sound Industrial Center from the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the interlocal agreement with the City of Bremerton authorizing the development of new sanitary sewer transmission facilities to the Puget Sound Industrial Center from the Belfair Water Reclamation Facility. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Moves us to item 9, other business and opportunity for department heads and electeds to speak to the commission. Okay. We can move past item 10 for the time being. We have to wait until 6:30 to begin our public hearings. So we can move to item number 11, which is board reports and calendars, and I would invite Commissioner Netherland to begin, and we'll go to Commissioner Drexler, and I'll finish.
Okay, if we do it quick, we might be able to get it done. Let's see, after our last meeting, attended the League of Women Voters meeting that they had in regards to the budget. Again, it was a very good meeting, and I just like the idea that there's so many other eyes that are looking at this, trying to work in there. We had a Board of Health meeting. We also had a meeting with the Mason Transit Authority. Did the North Mason Chamber Luncheon, which I know his name is Randy. I can't remember his last name, but he's the voice of the Seahawks. He's related to Rollins because he's related to Stephanie. So he's actually a pretty funny guy. It's pretty good listening to some of those stories. Budget workshops, Ernie Aries, another hero of the North Mason, is gone, and I attended his celebration of life. And listening to the stories of this man, you know, for a kid, when I used to go into his hardware store, came from the big city, it was wonderful. A hardware store that had everything. No matter what it was, just had to find a shelf. There was you could find a present in there. You could find something that had been in his shop for 20 years on the bottom shelf. And he was just a great man, and he will be greatly missed in our community. Let's see. Met with local residents, trying to help them with some of their issues on taxes and stuff, and trying to help them save their home. Briefings, budget workshop. Let's see. This next week we have more budget workshops. Tomorrow we have risk pool and risk pool and risk pool. 3 different days I'll be at risk pool, and I assume that I will see some of you there on occasion, but I will be there the whole time. The Women's Republican Luncheon, the Hood Canal annual awards may have been canceled. We'll find that out. MTA celebrating 25 years. Another person from the North End, another funeral. Dan O'Neill will be having his celebration of life at the Salmon Center. He's responsible for a lot of our road projects and stuff. He was on the state road commission for many years, and he had a lot to do with our environment as well. And another man that will be greatly missed. Parade on the 3rd. Come on out. Get some candy. We'll be waving at you and having fun. It's a short one, but it's a wonderful parade. Our little town of Belfair just lights up with it. It's pretty cool. They also have Santa Claus shows up. So if you want to see Santa, come on out. I'm sure he'd love to see you. We have budget hearings, briefings, and then I will be attending a Jan Angel event, and brings us back to the left board meeting in the morning of the day of our commission meeting, and then back to regular business.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Following last week's commission meeting, I also attended the League of Women Voters budget, or regular meeting, which had a session on the budget workshop. I do thank the League for doing this as well. It was a very good workshop, and I appreciated the opportunity to educate folks about fiscal sustainability issues in the county. Also attended the Board of Health meeting and the Mason Transit Authority meeting. Enjoyed a Thanksgiving holiday with my new family, which was great. And then following, we had briefings Monday, and then a budget workshop as well. And then I attended the Oysterfest debriefing, and just very delighted. The numbers are still being counted, but $100,000 was raised for local charities and nonprofits. So that's very, very glad that it was a successful year this year. Had meetings on Tuesday with members of the Sheriff's Office and about budget issues, as well as the budget workshop this afternoon. We'll have another budget workshop tomorrow morning, and then I will be meeting with legal counsel on some issues with the City of Shelton. And then I also have on my calendar potentially having canceled the Hood Canal Coordinating Council Annual Awards banquet. I will be in the Shelton Christmas Parade on Saturday, and then in the Belfair Christmas Parade, joining Team John L. Scott on Sunday, so we'll probably be in the same team, Commissioner. Back here for our budget hearing on the 4th, and then briefings following that.
Very good, thank you. Just a couple of items to note from last week. Also had a number of meetings with the Sheriff's Office and the prosecutor and some other offices here talking about the budget and some of the ways we can work together on that issue. And we also had a canvassing board meeting today. We certified the election results. And of those election results, of course, is the City of Shelton going from a commission to a council. And so it'd be interesting to see those processes move forward. And so it's always interesting to sit on the canvassing board and certify those elections and really certify the will of the people that took the time to vote. Going forward, we have budget workshop tomorrow, and as I said earlier tonight, I'll be joining Public Works staff and the Army Corps of Engineers out in the Valley, looking at the levee issue there. Also have an Alliance for a Healthy South Sound conference call tomorrow, followed by some risk pool meetings that I'll be attending. As well, I'll be meeting with Dallas Roberts from Congressman Denny Heck's office later this week. We have more budget hearings, and then I'll be meeting with staff to discuss where we are with the comprehensive plan update. We have that on the agenda for next week, and so I'll be sitting down with them to go over that in a little bit more detail. And then also the potential for the Hood Canal Coordinating Council award ceremony that may or may not be happening at some point on Friday. We will get that confirmed, but I might be there as well. And then back on Monday for budget hearing and briefings, and our meeting on Tuesday. Okay. We are now past 6:30, and so we can move on to item 10, which is our public hearings. We'll move to item 10.1, which is our public hearing to approve and execute the resolution adopting the 2018 through 2023 six-year transportation improvement plan, and I would invite staff forward to brief.
Good evening, Commissioners. As you know, once a year, the county engineer is charged with putting together a plan for the next 6 years for transportation improvement projects. That plan's hashed over within the Public Works Department amongst several folks. And then the plan is to be brought to the board for your review and final action. So the final action and recommendations are yours to make. You've also added the additional work for an advisory board to take a look at the recommendations and bring forward their recommendations to you as well. And that's because we feel that it is very important to have the folks that know and use our transportation system have their fingerprints on it and have their say in as well about what are priorities for the community. As you know, we don't have a whole lot of money to spend on this, so we do want to make sure that the money is spent wisely, and we are reflecting the priorities of the community. So that said, our TIPCAP, which is the Citizens Advisory Committee, reviewed the recommendations that were put together by the Public Works Department. They had briefed the board as well and made some suggested revisions. Those revisions are before you this evening. And we are recommending that you adopt and approve the revisions as recommended by TIPCAP.
Great, thank you. Any questions for staff?
Just a comment and a compliment. First I was reading this. Can you see how tiny that is? The sad part is, after I was done reading that, then I saw a big thing on this other thing folded up that says, "Large copy for commissioners." Thank you very much.
That's for me as well.
Next
I
time
need a
we'll
large
put it-
copy
but next time we'll put it
also.
in front of the little one.
Okay.
Thank you. Before we open the public hearing part of it, I just want to thank staff for their work on this, as well as members of TIPCAP who've taken the time out of their schedules to come in and have a say in the future of our roads and transportation projects in Mason County. And we've said it once, I don't think we've said it 100 times, but nowhere near enough. We are made better when members of the community step forward and have a say in the projects and the work that we do here in the county. And so appreciate all the work that TIPCAP has done, and appreciated them coming in a couple of weeks ago to meet with us on a briefing morning to talk about their thoughts on the plan and going forward. And so I appreciate that, and Loretta, all your work organizing that as well. So. Okay, with that, I will open up the public comment period and invite members of the public to come forward to the podium, and Chair will recognize you.
Jeff Carey of Belfair, Vice Chair of the TIPCAP Advisory Panel. Here pitch hitting also for Jack, who's the chair, but couldn't be here tonight. A couple things. One is what you have before you, or at least I'm assuming it's still the same thing, was unanimously adopted by all committee members. There was always vigorous debate on issues, but amazingly, we did come to agreement on things, and it's been, at least for me personally, it's been a joy to work with that group and most of the members that have been, on that committee. And so I appreciate the board identifying segments within the county and making it part of the resolution as far as the types of individuals you're trying to get in that committee, because that it makes a much more well-rounded, well-versed discussion, even though there's a whole bunch of education that all of us need, as far as the citizens go. I mean, the first year literally was an education year. I mean, it sounds like it's a long time, but there's just a lot of things to get up to speed. But I'm personally very impressed with all the members that we currently have, and look forward to getting another member out of your district, Mr. Schutte, and keep moving ahead. There's going to be new projects and additional things that I'm sure next year in addition, but we're going to beat it up and see where it goes, because there are things. There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of roads. There's a lot of culverts. There's a lot of bridges. I mean, when you put it all together, it's the infrastructure that makes this county work at all levels. And to a person, everybody is in support of that letter also that was drafted. I'm assuming that went to the commissioners, as far as what we saw, what we recommend going forward, and reviewing the area of diversion funds and things like that, and taking another look at it and what have you. I think I can speak. Everybody's at least to that level. There are other parties that want to go further, but at least everybody's to the way that supports to that letter at the very minimum. So with that, I'll leave it, and other members can testify other pieces and components, or if you have any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Any other members of the public for comment?
Commissioners, Ken Van Buskirk from Belfair. I don't have a copy of the 6-year plan, and I understood that there might be something about a sidewalk on there on the old Belfair Highway. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I walked the old Belfair Highway from where I live half a mile down, and we have a wide shoulder on one side of the road there, and I'm not real certain that we need a sidewalk for that 1/10 of a mile. And I'm curious, I think you folks commissioned a Belfair mobility study, and I know there was a survey with part of that mobility study, and I'm curious if that sidewalk has risen to the height of where the tip cap considered it, or if that survey has been completed. I would think that the four-way intersection is probably of greater concern to the folks in Belfair than the sidewalk, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen the results of that survey. $185,000 was the price, I think, on that, and that seems a little steep for 500 feet of sidewalk. I can see the project perhaps on the 6-year plan, but I can't see it on the annual 2018 plan. My biggest concern is the proximity of this proposal to that four-way intersection and the level of service of that intersection. And I think that the intersection should be addressed before the sidewalk is built, because I think once the level of service of that roadway is already failing in that intersection, and if the county decides to put the sidewalk in before that intersection is fixed, it's likely to be all tore up when they rebuild that intersection. So I just would hope that you would consider, it might be good on the 6-year plan, but I don't think it's real appropriate for the 1-year plan at this point. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public for comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion and move to commissioner discussion of possible motion.
I have another question for staff, please. Given the knowledge of another levee break, it is not clear to me where funding to repair that levee would be and how this is brand new. And so I'm a little concerned about adopting a plan for next year that potentially put us out to bid when there might be other longer-term costs besides the immediate work on the levee breach. So first of all, my first question is, where would funding come from to repair levees on county-owned property normally? And number two, are there projects here that could be delayed if we ended up with an additional cost, if it is coming out of our road fund?
The answer to your first question is any work outside of county road right-of-way would come from a different fund than the road fund.
Okay.
And the most likely source would be the flood control zone fund. So there's a special fund that has been set aside for work within the valley. It has been reserved for grant match for the core projects, but that would be the most likely place, Commissioner, that any levee repair work would come from.
Does the Army Corps of Engineer also have an obligation there?
None that I'm
Financially?
aware of, no.
Okay.
No. These levees were not Corps designed or constructed levees.
Okay.
These were privately constructed.
Okay. And do you recall the balance of that? This is the former flood district.
Yes.
Do you recall the balance of
I
that?
want to say it's around 350, 60,000. I'm looking at Jen. I want to say right around that ballpark area right now.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe we can have that discussion tomorrow, once we have a better idea, and we can figure out where that fund sits.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
No,
Okay,
questions.
okay, very good. And then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners approve and executed the resolution adopting 2018 through 2023 six-year transportation improvement program.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the Board of Commissioners to approve and execute the resolution adopting the 2018 through 2023 six-year transportation improvement program. Is there any additional discussion?
I have a few comments I'd like to make on it. I used to be on that TIPCAP group years ago, and I found it to be horrible at the time. So when I first got elected, we went to dismantling it and then reconstructing it. And it's funny because the one who had the original idea is actually in here right now, and that's Mary Jo Cady and Jerry Houth. The two of them together put together a great program, but it changed over time. Right now, because of the wonderful staff we have, it is definitely citizen-driven and not just staff-driven. Where before, as a person that was on that committee, we would make recommendations. It would never even get to the commission. Just wouldn't get out to them that far because the staff made their recommendation. That's what was briefed on. So I want to give an extra special thank you, not just all the citizens that are doing, but that staff is strong enough to make recommendations both ways, and then if we look to go another direction, strong enough to work with them to get it done. Because that's what happened in this one. So well done to all of you on that. Well done for all your hard work. But I love the idea that it's citizen-driven and you guys are looking at these before they come to us. So thank you. And thank you, Mary Jo Cady. Because now, it's funny, now she's serving on the committee. Isn't that funny how it works?
Very good, thank you. Any additional discussion?
No.
Okay. Hearing no additional discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Moves us to item 10.2, which is a public hearing to approve and execute the resolution adopting the 2018 annual construction program. Invite staff forward to brief.
Commissioners, the annual construction program is the first year of the 6th year that you just approved. And so with that, I'll just give a quick overview of what the annual construction program consists of, if I can find my secret notes here. Overall, we are proposing to spend about $4.26 million in 2018. 2.28 of that will be local funds, and 1.975 of that state or other funds that we're leveraging our local dollars with. We are proposing to preserve some pavement on portions of Johns Prairie and Mason Lake Road, so that's a paver project, basically. We are proposing to construct improvements on Matlock Brady Road, way out towards the west boundary of the county, as Commissioner Drexler can attest to, checking that out today. We plan to complete the design and construct safety improvements to the shoulders and slopes along a portion of Bear Creek Dewato Road up on the Tahuya Peninsula. This is what's referred to as a clear zone project. We plan to complete design and construct a sidewalk on a portion of Old Belfair Highway, as Ken's made comment on earlier. And we plan to begin design to replace a culvert on Highland Road. And we also have some funds set aside for unplanned and unforeseen events. So this may be, an example was we had a culvert that was eroded and washed out last year that had to be replaced that we just didn't know it was going to happen. And so we need to have some money salted away to take care of those types of projects. So that gives you a little highlight of what we're up to next year and how much we're spending.
Great, thank you. Loretta, just if you could explain what a clear zone project is.
Sure. So there are places in the county where either shoulders are fairly narrow or they're fairly steep, or we have stumps or other obstacles that are fairly close to the traveling edge of the road. And a clear zone is just laying out a nice area that if you were to somehow leave the road, you've got a recovery area basically, and you're not hitting those obstacles.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, given the testimony we heard earlier about improvements in the in the intersection there on Clifton Lane and Old Belfair Highway.
Yes.
Number one, are those being contemplated by the transportation consultant? And I guess I'd like to ask, do you foresee, of all the scenarios there might be for the improvement of the intersection, there being a need to then take up this sidewalk that we're would be voting on?
I'm going to turn to our lovely engineering and construction manager who is thinking about those things as the design is underway. If that's all right, Sarah, if I kick the can your direction. I can give you a real quickie rundown of where we're at in the study, and then Sarah can speak to the design and how that takes into account any future projects. So right now, as Mr. Van Busker noted, we have a consultant who's looking at what types of improvements may be needed in the future in the Belfair area. And we've got a variety of things going on to help answer that question. And we won't know all of the answers until probably another 3 or 4 months. And at that time, we'll bring forward to commissioners a more detailed suite of recommended projects for the Belfair area. So this sidewalk is actually kind of ahead of that whole game. We're ahead of the cycle. And this sidewalk has been ahead of the cycle for some time. We've planned and thought and discussed about installing a sidewalk on Old Belfair Highway. One of the things that the consultant will be looking at is whether or not certain intersections may need improvements, and if so, what those might look like. So you would have kind of a footprint, if you will, of the area that would be necessary to make an improvement to an intersection. And that's about all I know.
Do you know, it was also stated earlier that it's the level of service, it's failed its level of service. Have we determined that?
No, we have not determined that at this time. So there are several criteria that establish whether or not an intersection is operating at a designated level of service. And
do you recall what the level is that we graded that?
I don't know. I believe the last time it was evaluated, it was a C.
Okay. That's pretty high, really.
Yeah, and so and I know that it did not meet warrants at the time that it was previously evaluated. But today I couldn't tell you whether it's meeting warrants or not.
Okay,
We'll know that soon, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So as Loretta said, this being ahead of any studies that will occur for the intersections in Belfair, depending on if there are improvements needed at this intersection, it would most likely affect the sidewalk that we install right at the intersection. So say you needed to add a lane, it would definitely affect the sidewalk. If possibly you were going to put a roundabout in, it would definitely affect the sidewalk. So, but at this point, we really don't know if there is a need to make improvements at that intersection and how far down the road they would need to be made.
So if I could,
Mm-hmm.
so do you anticipate having the study back before work would begin on the sidewalk, or?
We can definitely make that schedule work so that the study is expected in 3 to 4 months. We're at about 60% design right now. We will not pick up the design until Jan 1. So we can definitely make that schedule work out so that we have the study before we finalize our design and move on with construction.
But a traffic light wouldn't impact.
It would
That side.
definitely impact depending on where your pole standards are placed.
Oh, I see what you're
And
saying.
where all of the ADA facilities would need to be based on the pole standards and the push-button standards. Yes, all of that would affect the sidewalk location.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna, go ahead.
Very good. No?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
If I could add just one other thing regarding the intersection. Part of the study is looking at ways to alleviate traffic entering that intersection, so extending the life, basically, if you will. So we're looking at other ways to connect people to where they're going and not necessarily routing them through that four-way intersection. So that's a different way of alleviating pressure there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to make your comments now, or do you want to?
I'll wait till.
Okay. Okay. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to make comment on the annual plan, you can please come forward and to the podium, and the chair will recognize you.
Rob Drexler, 51 Sinclair Place in Shelton. I have a business in Belfair. I've lived up there for a long time, been there, and I would recommend highly that you leave the sidewalk alone. We've wrestled with the idea of that intersection since I've lived here in '01, and challenges back and forth. I can't see that you'll get anything done with that intersection for foreseeable future. The other side of that is that is the walkway to get. We just ran the sidewalk down the opposite side of Clifton Road there, coming down by Bill Hunter Park and coming through there. That would just tie that all together to go down to the hub, to do the other things back through there. And it may break some concrete when you do a road project, yes, and then you'll pour more concrete. So I personally think that it's much better served to go ahead and put that sidewalk in now. I think we'd be much better served for the entire community. I know everyone, I answered that survey, my whole office answered that survey, and to a person, the two sidewalks that were asked about in that survey were in front of McClendon's and from there down towards the hub. So I think the community would support putting the sidewalk in there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Jeff?
Jeff Carey, Chair, Sub-Chair, Vice Chair, there we go. Anyway, TIPCAP discussed this quite a bit because, you know, like you're trying to say, okay, do you do things before or after you get it all laid out? The issue that kind of came, believe it or not, was, okay, it hasn't yet, but we got the safety issues. And if we have to get rid of a little bit of concrete because it's a roundabout or something else, nobody likes to tear up road once you do it once. I mean, nobody does. I mean, but nobody wants anybody getting hurt there either. And that was the other side. And again, you know, all committee members, when it came right down to it, from TIPCAP, were basically that and a variety of other things come down to that point. It's like nobody had it on the radar to do it, you know, right away, but then when we started looking at what was going on, it's like, let's just get this son of a gun done, fixed enough so that people get around and less chance for people getting hurt. And then, you know, whatever transpires from the Belfair study, whatever transpires with that intersection, because you don't know when and if and where those will ever happen. Because there's lots of projects that have been around since the 24 years I've been around this county that still haven't happened. So, you know, who knows? But if you can do something to make it a little bit safer for people, that's going in the right direction. And it's, whether it's totally cost effective, safety is always, you know, always one of those things where you hate to spend it, but you hate to see somebody get hurt. So anyway, that's how TIPCAP came to the agreement on it.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Any additional comment from the public? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion and move on to a commissioner discussion and potential motion.
Discussion-wise, I'd almost everything I said was already said before I got there. So that's good. I want to remind everybody that this is something that had been planned on, and for those that are at home, so they'll understand, this is actually a piece of land that goes from the corner where they would walk across the street from the supermarket, in front of some other areas, to the senior center. And this would allow access for those with handicaps and disabilities, be able to get back and forth from the parking lot of that store over to the senior center. When the senior center was built, it was built with the idea that they were going to get that. That was one of the things that they were promised and discussed with. When they built their parking lot, they actually built it with this, the only thing I think of is they say it's built like with braille. Why it's bright yellow, I don't know, because it's got the bumps to tell somebody with their walking stick that this is an area to go through. The only problem is the part that doesn't have it is where it's supposed to connect to the sidewalk, and it drops off. So hopefully no blind person actually goes and uses it, because it takes them into the wrong place right now. There's a nice drop off, probably that deep, on the one side of the parking lot, and their sidewalk is already there. So I hope we will not let this thing get slowed up or stopped. It needs to happen. Wish that it happened last year.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Just, you know, it's kind of funny, given the size of the budget, that we're having this much time spent on that bit of sidewalk. But I think it's important for us to acknowledge that Belfair is an urban growth area, and that though we're not used to building sidewalks with county road funds, we better start getting used to it, because we are basically quasi-city councils, in that we have 2 urban growth areas. That is where our development is supposed to go to. And I thank Commissioner Netherland for being a strong advocate for this piece. There is a lot more sidewalk that needs to happen there, both in Allen and in Belfair. And again, just for $185,000, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm glad we're having this discussion, because it brings to light that we do have to start thinking about urban planning type of issues with our county road dollars.
Okay, thank you. At this time, if there's no additional discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Board of County Commissioners approve and execute the resolution adopting the 2018 annual construction program.
I'll second.
So it's moved and seconded to approve and execute the resolution adopting the 2018 annual construction program. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Moves us to item 10.3, which is a public hearing to certify to the county assessor the amount of taxes levied for county purposes and the amount of taxes levied for each taxing district for 2018. And I'd invite staff forward to brief.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you said, we have 3 resolutions to certify to. One is for the current expense levy, the second is for the road levy, and the third is for the resolution certifying levies to the assessor. At this point in time, we only have the first 2 levies, the current expense levy and the road levy. The levy for all of the certifications is not complete. Not all of the districts and junior districts have brought in their levy requests. So I'm going to ask that that part of the hearing be continued to a date in the future. As far as the current expense levy is concerned, the current expense levy is as follows. The current expense fund is looking for $9,718,006.39. The mental health fund component is added to that, $188,982.41. The Veterans Assistance Fund, which is added to that, is $85,042.08, for a total regular current expense levy of $9,992,030.88. In addition to that is the refund levy component, which is only $2,934.16, for a total levy for 2018 of $9,994,965.04. Added to the current expense is a levy shift from the road fund of $855,000. The road fund levy request is
$10,706,798.87 with a diversion from the road fund for traffic policing of $2 million. And as I mentioned earlier, a levy shift to the current expense fund of $855,000, coming to a total levy for the road fund of $13,561,798.87, plus the refund levy component, which is $12,435.49, for a grand total of $13,574,234.36. And I have here, if I may, the motions for the three resolutions. And as I mentioned earlier, two of which we can make now, the third needs to be postponed.
Okay, so we would then revise the third motion to reflect the, do you have a date?
When we get the other certifications, I would put it for, I believe it's December 19th, a meeting date. Yes,
Okay.
no later than December 19th.
Are we, I don't see in this motion where we're using the bank capacity.
The resolution has it.
The resolution.
It identifies the utilization in both road and current expense, any bank capacity. It also considers the 1% increase available to both.
Okay, any additional questions for staff?
No.
Okay. At this time, I would open the public hearing portion of this. Again, if you'd like to make comment, please come to the podium. The chair will recognize you. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment portion and move to discussion and a possible motion.
So this has been a tough budget year, necessitating an increase of the road diversion to the sheriff's office for the traffic policing of $500,000. We had a very educated plea from our Transportation Improvement Planning group to think twice about these types of diversions. And I took that to heart. I just need you to know I took that to heart. I am in favor of doing this diversion as a one-time diversion, the increase of $500,000 as a one-time diversion, in anticipation of some recommendations going to come forward from our Commissioner Schuette had recommended that we put together a citizens council to look at fiscal sustainability for the county. We have a 1% property tax increase allowed by law, 4% plus increase in costs. You know, what can we do to remain fiscally sustainable? This increase of $500,000 that's being contemplated here, plus the levy shift of $855,000, in my mind is a stopgap for 2018. And I just wanted to make sure people are aware that's how I'm looking at this and why I would be in favor of the current expense levy consideration and the road levies. I don't know if we'd gotten an official cost to the city of Shelton property owners on the cost of the levy shift, but it will be, we think, 0.013 cents. So it should be a small amount of an increase to them, but at the same time, the city of Shelton citizens do avail themselves of a lot of county services, and so I hope that there is some understanding there as well.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Question, are we going to be handling this one at a time?
Yeah, so we have to make 3 separate motions. So you'll have,
I'll save my comments for motion.
okay, very good. At this point, I would entertain a motion on the current expense levy.
Mr. Chair, I would move to increase the 2018 current expense property tax levy by 1%, set the levy at $9,994,965.04, and bank excess capacity.
I will second on that one.
It's been moved and seconded to increase the 2018 current expense property tax levy by 1%, set the levy at $9,994,965.04 in bank excess capacity. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I would move to increase the 2018 road property tax levy by 1% and bank excess capacity, and set the levy at $13,574,234.36. This includes a diversion of the road levy of $2 million and a levy shift to current expense of $855,000.
And is there a second? I will second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to increase the 2018 road property tax levy by 1% and bank excess capacity, and set the levy at $13,574,234.36. This includes a diversion of the road levy of $2 million and a levy shift to current expense of $855,000. Any additional discussion?
Yes. There was a lot of hard work on this. That's why I didn't want to just beat it up and go back and forth. And I respect everybody's opinions, but in this one, I very much disagree. First of all, I want to clarify a few things. You read in the press different comments about overspending the budget. We didn't overspend our budget. It was the opposite. We had less revenue come in, so we cut our budget in order to meet the revenue number. So the county actually spent less this year than what they had budgeted, just for a clarification. But it was a very devastating cut, with more coming, because the revenue is not coming up. It's just not happening. Now, with that being said, there was a vote that we would go out to the people to get their opinion and hear what they think. And when we did that, or actually get them to actually vote in a tax increase, and when we did, I personally had a hard time going out there. I couldn't ask people to support it because I knew there was still stuff in other budgets that needed to be cut, that there's still capacity there before going out and asking them specifically to vote for it. And the people spoke to us very clearly. 67% said no. They basically told us that we need to live within our means. Now, doing what we're about to do here, we're not going to be living within our means, not by a long shot. First off, I want to point out that it's a tax increase. We're raising the tax on the road fund, which is the larger of the two. It's a 10% tax increase. That's a huge amount of a tax increase when the people told us no. So I think we should be listening to them, and I think we should be making some of those bigger cuts. But on top of that, we're raising the wrong tax. By raising the tax on the road fund, we're going to rate it for 1 year to help it be a stopgap to fix what we have going on here. But this is something that is actually for the road funds. This will continue to be taxed forever, but for a different pocket than what we need it for. So I don't think it's actually a fix, nothing more than a stopgap now, but we lose the trust they gave in us not to raise that tax. I still think we need to make some different cuts, go for less money than what we could, and so I will be voting against it. But I also want to point out, again, it was hard. Everybody that's going to make their vote tonight, I am not going to say even for a second that any of them didn't reach into their conscience and fight over this thing, because it was not easy. And so I have no disrespect to anybody for any of their votes. And I appreciate the hard work that you put in to make your decisions.
Okay, any additional discussion?
Yeah, I disagree with one of the points you said, and I just wanted to highlight, to say that the road fund does not need the bank capacity, I think is not completely true. Taking what I had said earlier in our construction program, We have a lot of urban road projects to do in our Allen and Belfair urban growth areas to realize the kind of growth we need to get a natural tax base increase. And we have been shown by the financial staff in the roads department that we are going to be in the red in future years, and we will need to go into that bank capacity eventually if we want to build a Belfair connector, if we want to build more sidewalks, and if we want to do the future roads for economic development. So it is a large tax increase, but it was a banked tax capacity. That's what the Washington State Legislature determined how we should pay for the increased costs of county government. And one of them is to take that 1% every year. The other one is to take your bank capacity. It's not ideal. I don't like it at all. I wish that we could have a better way to keep up with the cost of government than what we've been given in state statute.
Thank you. I'm going to make a couple of comments and move on and take a vote that I don't think any of us want to take. First, I appreciate, Commissioner Nevlin, very much your desire to return to a more fiscally responsible method of budgeting in the county. I think this year, when I came into office, there was a budget that was not in balance. It was in balance using reserve funding, which led to us having to have $150,000 or $170,000 cash on hand in March. You run an organization of this size, and nobody can say that $170,000 cash flow is an appropriate cash flow at any point in the year. We did go out and we did put a ballot measure on there for the voters to decide, and they did not approve that resoundingly. And I think a lot of that has to do with the
nice song.
A lot of that has to do with needing to rebuild trust with the voters and taxpayers in this county. These spending levels reached the point that they did over a number of budgets, and as I said back in the summer when we got to the point where we needed to make a number of reductions, I said we didn't get ourselves into this position with one bad budget, and we're not going to get ourselves out of it with one good budget. And this is a process that's going to take a number of years. And so when you go out in my district and you talk to folks that live out in Lake Cushman, you talk to folks that live out in Matlock, up into Lilliwap, they have real concerns about the level of services being reduced for them, in particular when they dial 911 and they want people to come and help them. And I have an obligation to those people to make sure that we can preserve as much as we can using the limited tools that the legislature has given us. In most cases, the 1% that we can take is not enough. And I've been down to the legislature a number of times, as have both of you, having those conversations with not only our local legislators, but legislators across the state to hopefully help them understand the predicament that counties and local governments face because of the restrictions that we have. And I would say, and I have said, that we should live within our means, and I'm happy to hear you say that tonight, I really am. However, given the amount of time that the spending and the level that the spending has increased, I think we have to have a very deliberate and thoughtful process behind how we reduce the amount of spending. And unfortunately, that can't just begin and end at this dais. And so as Commissioner Drexler mentioned, I have called for the formation of a citizen-led budget sustainability committee. I look forward to getting to work on putting that together because I think we need buy-in from the community and on the level at which their government is funded. These are absolutely one-time stopgap expenditures and revenue. But we have to understand that unless we can bring people together from across the county, from across the elected offices, to come together on a plan that everybody can more or less get behind and go and have a fair conversation with the people, we're never going to get ourselves out of the situation that we're in. And so I appreciate your no vote tonight. I understand your no vote tonight. But I hope you'll remain engaged in the process here as we go forward looking for solutions because, frankly, we need everybody helping Borough vote the same way. So I do appreciate your comments tonight.
Commissioner, I want to make very clear, it's not like I sat on the sidelines and did not give opinions on what I thought the cuts should be and where they should be and where the revenue should be. So staying engaged is not a proper comment. I also want to clarify that you are mistaken when you say we budgeted into our reserve. We did not. We have our set reserve, and we didn't budget into that. What we did is we budgeted to it because that's all we had. And then when we didn't get the revenues, we had to cut so that we wouldn't spend our reserve, because we have a mandatory reserve. So I need to clarify that. And I also wanted to clarify also that not only am I against a 10% tax increase, I'm also against raising the amount of diversion that we're doing also. It's just spending more money, another $500,000 when the cuts should have been made and could have been made. And I did a lot of hard work to come up with all the numbers and looked at everybody very seriously and talked to so many of them myself. And we were able to come up with a lot of different happy mediums. Not perfect, but happy mediums on it. But I will stay involved. I've been engaged all the way through. And if anybody's ever followed any of those briefings or any of those budget meetings, I think I can say I know the budget as well as anybody. I worked pretty damn hard at it.
I think you're misrepresenting my comment. I said I look forward to you staying engaged in that process going forward. I haven't questioned your level of engagement to this point. Also, I would be happy, I know you've brought forward some revenue for the sheriff's office. We're having a meeting with them tomorrow morning. I anticipate that you'll bring forward those recommendations to them at that time, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
And the motion carries. Okay, it moves us on to our third motion of the night, to delay consideration of certifying the levies to the assessor. Entertain a motion on that.
Do we have a date?
12/19.
12/19?
Mr. Chair, I'd move to continue the resolution certifying levies to the assessor, to continue the hearing to December 19th, to adopt the resolution certifying to the county assessor the property tax levies for the collection in 2018.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to, can you restate your motion?
I did. Continue the hearing to adopt the resolution certifying the county assessor, to the county assessor, the property tax levies for collection in 2018 to December 19th.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to continue the hearing to adopt the resolution certifying to the county assessor the property tax levies for collection in 2018 to December 19th, 2017. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. Okay, and with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
We're adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.